Hello everyone, I'm Kimberly from Dirt Floor Fibers, and today, in celebration of the second virtual Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, we are going to be washing a fleece. Now, I've already purchased a few new fleeces this morning. I'm super excited about it, but I realized that I still had some fleeces from last year up in storage. Basically, I got most of my fleeces last year washed during kind of late spring, early summer, but then it started raining and it wouldn't stop raining. And then it got cold and nothing would dry. So they've just kind of languished in their boxes for a while. But before my new fleeces start rolling in, I wanted to get these taken care of. Now, this is actually going to be the start of a series that shows you how we go from a raw fleece all the way up to a final finished product. So I'm going to be starting out with my box of goodies. Now, the first thing you never want to do is store your fleece for any length of time in a plastic bag. Guess how I stored mine? In the plastic bag it came in. So I'm going to turn you around and show you what I got in my box from this particular farm. Oh, before I do, this fleece comes from Too Many Tails Farm. The fleece itself is a Cormo Cross, and it looks like it weighs 10.8 pounds. It was from a sheep shearing on 4/8 of 2020. This supplier, this farm, was really great to work with. I don't know what the fleece looks like yet because it's still in the box, but I didn't have any problems, contacting them. Shipping was great, got here in a timely manner. And when I opened up my box, I also found they gave me a couple of samples. They gave me some alpaca fleece, or I guess it's roving, but they said that they have raw fleeces and roving for alpaca, and it was really nice. I haven't done anything with it yet, it's sat in the bag, but I have that. And they also gave me 2 little bags of Angelina fiber, which I usually don't use all that often just because I prefer natural fibers, but I plan on incorporating this into some art bats when I get around to it. All right, so let me turn you around and we'll see what's in this box. So this is how my fleece came. It was packaged in a box, very tightly compacted, and it was also inside of a plastic bag. Before I left this in storage in my house, I did open the top of the bag. I wanted it to be able to breathe. One of the reasons why you don't want to store fiber in plastic is because you can get condensation that builds up, and that can quickly ruin a fleece or any other kind of fiber. And so I just wanted to make sure I didn't have any moisture accumulation inside. I have gone ahead and put a clean sheet out on the driveway, and I don't think I can dump this fleece out one-handed, so I'll get this out of the box and opened up and check back in. My poor fleece is completely box-shaped, so we'll see what we can do to pull this apart. Normally, after you skirt a fleece, when you go to roll it up, you would lay it out flat, fold it into thirds, and then roll it from the back end to the front end. But because I've left it in my box for so long, I don't know if I'm going to be able to just unroll it. All right. Alright, so not exactly unrolled. I didn't do the neatest of jobs, but I can at least see what I'm working with. Now this farm did a pretty nice job of skirting. I don't see any big tags. There's some small vegetable matter, but nothing too crazy. I think this will wash up really, really nicely. I can already feel, you can see how shiny my hand is, I can feel the lanolin, but it doesn't look like any of that's gone bad. And these locks are really, really nice. Let's see if I can pull some out here. All right, so that's what one looks like. It's a lovely white color, and it has a little bit of brown on the tips. Though I'm really curious to see what color I'm going to end up with once it all gets washed, if it'll keep any of the brown, or if it'll just go to a really nice uniform white fleece. So how I'm going to handle this, it is, I think I said like 10.8 pounds, so it is a lot of wool. I have set out some containers. I really love these rubber containers. I got these from, I think, Tractor Supply, And I've had them for a while. I haven't had any issues with them cracking or breaking. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and fill these up with water, about 3/4 of the way full. And then I'm gonna divide my fleece up and just submerge them in the water. I'm just using cool water right out of my hose for my first soaking. Some people will do this inside in their bathtub, but I don't really trust my plumbing in my house that much, that I prefer not to clog it with all kinds of vegetable matter and lanolin. And so I like to do this outside in the cold water to start with. Now sometimes I will divide up my fleece based on different characteristics. If there are different colors, I might divide it by color. If there's a particularly matted spot that I want to pay attention to or it's really dirty, I might take that out. If there's a section with really nice locks that I want to preserve, I might wash that in a separate bucket. But this fleece looks pretty uniform in terms of its quality. So I've just gone ahead, let me switch my hose over. There we go. So I've just gone ahead and grabbed a section of fleece. I'll go back and grab more. This is not enough for one bucket. But you might be able to see how there's some vegetable matter sitting on it. So I like to take it one piece at a time and really give it a nice shake. This tends to get out some of the loose vegetable matter, as well as a lot of the second cuts that are shorter than the rest that I don't really want my finished products. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to get everything out, but that's what the washing process is for. So I'm gonna nice shake, and then I'm going to put it into my bucket of water. Even though my water is cold out of the hose, I don't want to agitate my fiber too much. I don't want to accidentally felt it. I don't want to mess up those really pretty locks. And so I'm just going to push it down into the water. I might give it a little bit of a swoosh to make sure the water's getting all through the fleece, but that's about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and divide up the rest of my fleece among these buckets, and I'll let it soak. I don't know, we'll maybe do this for an hour, 2 hours, and we'll come back and I'll show you what the result is. You'll be shocked at how much dirt and just grossness comes out of the fleece. Yeah, so I'll let this soak for, I don't know, maybe an hour. Really loud truck. So I'll let this soak for, I don't know, maybe an hour or two, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what has come out of this fleece. Something that I forgot to mention before, if you've never worked with sheep or fleece before, sheep are really gross. They pick up all kinds of things in their fleece, from, you know, poo on the ground to vegetation. I find bugs stuck in fleece, and things like stink bugs or little beetles. Sometimes you can find trimmings from when they had their hoofs trimmed. If your shepherd uses chemicals to treat for things like lice, you might find some of that in your fleece. So a lot of people do recommend wearing gloves when you're handling the raw fleece. I prefer not to. I just like to get my hands in there so I can really learn the nature of what I'm working with. But I will say that I do wash my hands every time I handle a raw fleece until I've got it properly scoured. Now, I did go and run some errands, so I've been gone for more like 3 or 4 hours, a little bit longer than I intended, but that's not a big deal at all. If my fleece is really, really dirty, I might only leave it for about a half hour to soak before I dump out the water and change it. Other times I've actually let them soak overnight, and that was a really, really dirty fleece that I wanted to just have some more contact time with the water. It wasn't coming clean. So it's been, like I said, 3 or 4 hours, and I'll show you what it looks like so far. So I'll turn you around. You can see I've emptied one bucket. This has been squeezed out really well to get that dirty water out of it. You do have to make sure that you don't wring your fleece. You don't want it to felt. It did, because it's been out in the sun, the water was a little bit warm. So I was really careful with it, but it's just really buttery, smooth, and soft. This is gonna look great once it's all cleaned up. Now you can see the bucket that I took the fleece out of. So this is part of the fleece that's still soaking. And over here, you can see how brown and gross that is. You can see little bits of plants that are coming out of it. There are little second cuts that have floated to the top as well. So I'm gonna dump all of that out. I'm gonna do the same with my other buckets. and then I'm gonna refill them with clean water and set everything soaking again. So this time I let my fleece soak for the amount of time it took me to mow about a third of my yard. Could I have let my fleece go longer and gotten more mowed? Absolutely. Did I use this as an excuse so I could stop, take a break, and finish mowing my yard later when it got cooler? Also absolutely. Am I ashamed of myself? Absolutely not. All right, so here is what my soak water looks like this time. I don't know if you can tell a difference on film or not, but it's definitely more of a nice fawn color rather than freshly brewed coffee. I did have some more cut ends float, and I'll just toss these out. They're not worth keeping. They'll come out when I process it anyway. You can see this one's still here in the water. I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze out all of this fleece, put it in a pile over on my sheet that you can see over here, and then I'll put everything just in one tub and bring it inside so we can start the next part of the scouring process. The cold water soak that I did outside pretty much got the first layer of filth off of my fleece. Now it's time to actually remove all the lanolin, which makes it really sticky, and to dissolve any of the other stuck on gunk. There's actually a lot more poo in this fleece than what I originally thought. It was still skirted really well. It was more just like little pieces that were stuck in. Could be some mud in there as well. So what I've done is I've brought all my fleece inside. I'm gonna have to cover it because my dogs absolutely love stealing it. That's Ivan right there. That's Brutus laying on the floor. So I've already filled my sink with hot tap water. And then I also used my electric kettle to heat a little bit more water just to bring the temperature up a little bit more. You don't really need to, but sometimes my water is too cool. And then I've also added some unicorn fiber power scour. According to the instructions on the back, for a fleece, you're supposed to use 1 tablespoon of power scour in 2 gallons of hot tap water for 1 pound of raw fleece. However, I have no idea how many pounds of fiber I'm going to stick in the sink. I have no idea how many gallons are of water in my sink, so I just kind of eyeball it and squirt it in. Now I'm going to take some of my fleece. Ivan's way too interested in this. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the sink. I've got a fair amount of water in there. My sinks are pretty deep. But what I'm going to make sure is that it has plenty of room to kind of agitate and move around. I am wearing my gloves this time, but that is because the water is pretty hot. My hands are pretty insensitive. I can handle a lot of heat on them, but even this water is a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm going to go ahead and keep adding fleece until I feel like I've reached my limit. Just a little bit more. And by the way, yes, this is my kitchen sink. Yes, I'm going to clean my sink really, really well, both before and after washing fleece. But it is stainless steel, and I keep everything off my countertops, so I'm not too worried about it. So I think this is as much fleece as I can get in my sink. I want to be careful not to agitate it too much. I don't want it to felt now that we're working with the hot water, but I am going to just kind of swish and lift a little bit to make sure my power scour and my water are making it all the way through the fleece. So a swish, lift is not going to hurt anything at all. All right, so now I'm going to let this just kind of sit and soak for, I don't know, maybe about 20 minutes. I don't want the water to cool down too much. Wool does not take well to changes in temperature. So I'll set a timer and come and check on this in about 20 minutes. I'm going to try to show this to you pretty quickly because my sink decided to stop holding water. But you can see after even 2 cold water soaks how much has come out with just that power scour. Now I put my wool on the other side of the sink. I'm going to squeeze out as much water as I can and let it sit and drain for just a few minutes. Then I'm going to fill this side back up with hot tap water. I don't think I'll need my kettle water again, though I could add some if I wanted to. The fleece is also feeling really soft. It's not feeling sticky. So I think most of the lanolin came out with that hot water rinse with the power scour. So I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, fill that back up and put my fleece back in there for another 20-minute soak. We'll see how clear it comes out the second time, and then I'll decide if I want a third or even a fourth soak in clear water, just to make sure it's all clean. All right, here are the results of our first freshwater soak. As you can see, the water is still pretty gross. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it up again with some more plain water, and we'll see what kind of difference it makes for the next round. All right, you can see the fleece over here draining. This is the water from our second plain water soak. Still pretty dark though, so I'm going to go ahead and do a third plain water soak and see where that gets us. I don't know if any difference is showing on camera, but it is definitely coming out a lot cleaner. The water coming off of the fleece is pretty clear. It has a little bit of cloudiness to it, but it's definitely not brown. So I think I'm going to give it just one last soak, and that'll be it. Because don't forget, once this gets spun up, it's going to get washed again. And then when I dye it, it's going to get washed again. So this is, I think, really just like some extra dirt and stuff that's continuing to dissolve. I don't think it's really dirty anymore. All right, so I'm going to fill this back up with plain water, give it one last soak, and then set it outside to dry. All right, so the goal is not to get your water completely clear. It's never going to get completely clear, but I'm happy with how much debris is in here. There's actually not that much. It looks a lot worse than what it is. And the fleece seems pretty clean. So because this is going to come in contact with water and soap again a couple more times in its life, I'm going to go ahead and spread a clean sheet outside of my back deck and spread this out. I'll show you what that looks like. I've wrapped my fleece up in an old towel, and now I'm just going to carefully press as much water out as I can. And that is how you scour a fleece. I'll go back and repeat the process a few more times until everything is washed. And then next time, once this is all dry, we'll check back in and see how we get it ready for spinning.